Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time there was a great forest. By the forest there was a small house. And in the house lived a man, a woman and their little daughter. One day, the woman, who was an extremely handy seamstress, made her daughter a beautiful scarlet cloak and hood. The girl loved the cloak. She wore it so often that, from that day forward, she became known as Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood is mid-jump above a blue puddle. She is wearing multicolored striped leggings, a yellow vest, green wellies and her red hood and cloak. Little Red Riding Hood, said the mother, would you be so kind as to take some freshly baked bread, butter and a fruit cake to your grandma? I'd be delighted to, mother, said Little Red Riding Hood, but it has been such a very long time since I have seen grandma. I fear that I shall not recall where she lives or even what she looks like. My dear, replied the mother, once you get going, you'll be sure to remember the way. Little Red Riding Hood set off into the heart of the forest. She carried a wicker basket, lined with a red and white checkered cloth, filled with her grandmother's goodies. She sang softly as she hopped along the forest path and watched the world go by. A wolf is sitting high up among trees, while Little Red Riding Hood is walking through the forest. A beastly wolf heard Little Red Riding Hood's sweet song. The wolf was a nasty, greedy creature and it longed for nothing more than to gobble up Little Red Riding Hood for his breakfast. But he dared not, because a woodman was working close by with his dog. The dog looked a little timid and moth-eaten, but, by jaw, could it be ferocious, especially when it caught a sniff of a beastly wolf. So, instead of pouncing and risking a commotion, the wolf crept up towards Little Red Riding Hood very gently and said, "Hello, Little Red Riding Hood. To where are you going this fine morning?" "To see my grandma," she said, "and take her the gifts from my basket, bread, butter and cake." At the bottom of a tree, the wolf and Little Red Riding Hood standing close together, facing each other. The wolf has a huge grin on his face. "Where does your grandma live?" asked the wolf. "In the heart of the forest," she replied. "Ah, yes. I know that house," said the wolf, in a low gruff voice, "but I must be off now. I bid you farewell, little girl. Do take good care of yourself out here. The forest can be a mighty dangerous place for little girls to be all alone." Before Little Red Riding Hood had time to reply, the wolf had gone. Little Red Riding Hood was in no hurry. She loved the forest and could happily play there alone for hours. She followed a butterfly. She watched a squirrel crack open a nut. She saw a rabbit hop through the ferns and a bee collect nectar from the wild flowers. On the forest floor there's a beautiful purple flower with a bee hovering just above the petals. A bunny is mid-bounce going through the grass. She even bumped into a woodman cutting logs. "Where are you going all alone, Little Red Riding Hood?" said the woodman. "I am going to see my grandma," she said. "But I must hurry along now or I will be late." The woodcutter and his dog are sitting on a log in front of their wooden chopping post and a pile of logs that have already been chopped. They are waving to Little Red Riding Hood, who is walking away, waving back, carrying a full basket of food. While Little Red Riding Hood was playing, the nasty wolf ran as fast as he could to the heart of the forest and found her grandmother's house. The grandmother lived alone. She was dreadfully weak and rarely rose from her bed. And, as it happened, she was in her bed that very day. The wolf crept up to the front door. Tap, tap, tap. "Who's there?" asked the old lady. "Little Red Riding Hood, Grandma," said the wolf, trying to put on a child's voice. "Come in, my dear," said the old lady. "Pull the string and the latch will lift up." The wolf went inside. The grandmother is lying in bed, covered by a peach duvet which the wolf has grabbed the bottom left-hand corner of and is starting to pull. She froze in fear and, moments later, the beastly wolf, hungry from his run through the forest, gobbled her up in a single bite. But the wolf was not satisfied. He wondered what it would be like to have a taste of sweet Little Red Riding Hood. So, he put on the old lady's nightgown and cap, got into the bed and waited for a tap at the door. The wolf is dressed in the grandmother's nightgown, dancing with one hand up in the air. An hour or so passed. Little Red Riding Hood then reached the house. Tap, tap, tap. "Come in," said the wolf, trying hard to sound as much like the old lady as possible. "Pull the string and the latch will lift up." Little Red Riding Hood thought to herself, "I don't remember Grandma's voice sounding so gruff." But she went in and saw her grandmother lying in bed, just as she was expecting. "Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood, "Mother has sent me with bread and butter and cake for you." "Oh, you are kind," said the wolf, "come here and let me kiss you." Little Red Riding Hood, who remember had not seen her grandmother for considerable time, approached the bed. The wolf is inside the grandmother's bed, wearing her nightcap. Little Red Riding Hood is standing next to the bed, leaning over slightly and pointing to the wolf's face. "Grandma," she said, "what a great nose you have." "All the better to smell you with, my dear," said the wolf. "And, Grandma, what large ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. "And what large eyes you have." "All the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. The wolf was now getting impatient. His lip curled up slightly, revealing a huge set of sharp white teeth. "Oh my, Grandma, and what great teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with," growled the wolf. He could wait no longer and pounced out of bed towards Little Red Riding Hood. At that exact moment, the door flew open with a bang. The woodman's dog darted in and jumped on top of the wolf. The wolf made a whimpering sound as he fell backwards onto the floor. Seconds later, the woodman dashed in, wielded his tremendous axe high above his head and brought it down with a thud, chopping the beastly wolf's head clean off in a single blow. "Oh, thank you, kind woodman," cried Little Red Riding Hood. "How on earth did you know the wolf was here and that I was in danger?" "Well," said the woodman, "I had seen a nasty-looking wolf lurking in the forest recently. When we met earlier, I wanted to make sure you were safe, so I followed you. My dog caught scent of the wolf when we approached the house and we rushed in to save you." "Oh, how brave and clever you are, dear woodman," said Little Red Riding Hood, "1,000 thank you again." The woodman walked Little Red Riding Hood home, and explained the nasty happenings to her parents. They were eternally grateful to the woodman, and his dog, for saving their precious Little Red Riding Hood from the beastly wolf.